Sup y'all, I'm Intricately Random Asian, or Ira for short. Thank you very much for clicking on this random video that you happen to stumble upon on YouTube. If you've been here for a while, welcome to another load of randomness but with a purpose. So buckle up your seatbelts and enjoy the ride. First of all, I'd love to thank all the people who voted on my poll for if I should do this movie review or not, and 52% of you have voted that I should do it, and I'm so very grateful because I did say in the past when I did my Mulan review that I would love to do more movie reviews on my channel, so thank you very much for encouraging me for doing this review, and it's going to be on no other than Spider Man 3 No Way Home. I went to see it last night with some friends and their parents, and it was really fun, and I really wanted to do a review on this movie because I just enjoy doing reaction videos and would love to do more in-depth reviews. So for all my European viewers, if there is a European movie that you would love for me to watch and do a review on, please don't hesitate to leave them down in the comment section below. Alright, so for Spider Man 3 No Way Home, I did make myself like a list of things I'm going to talk about because I really want to keep this as condensed as possible and also to have some sort of structure so that I don't just babble around about anything and everything. And I would also love to add as a disclaimer that I'm going to be doing a review just as a normal, third-party movie consumer. I am a Marvel fan, you could say. I have seen a number of Marvel movies in the past. I certainly did not see every single MCU movie, just to be completely honest, but I did see a bunch of them. So I kind of know a little bit of background, and yes, I did see all of Tobey Maguire's 3 Spider Man movies, and I also did see both of Andrew Garfield's Spider Man movies, and I did see the 2 previous Tom Holland Spider Man movies. So yeah, like I said, I kind of have some background, but I'm certainly not like an expert on the subject, okay? I've just watched the movies for fun as a kid and all that. So yeah, because I'm kind of still inexperienced with movie reviews, I'm just going to keep my structure really simple. I'm gonna go with the positives and then talk about the less positive points, and I'm gonna wrap it up with an overall verdict. Wish me luck. This is going to be great, and I encourage you to go watch the movie, of course, especially if you're lucky enough in your country to not be in another round of lockdowns, okay? Where I live in Canada, we are being locked down again, so I'm very lucky and grateful that my friends and I have had the chance to go watch this movie as our last cinematic experience for who knows how long again. So yeah, go see the movie if you haven't already. Oh, and by the way, if you're sensitive about spoilers, please do not watch this video because I will be spoiling a lot of things. I have yet to learn how to make movie reviews without spoilers, but yeah, if you're not into spoilers and you just want to keep the movie like a whole entire surprise for you for when you go see it, please avoid this video at all costs. But please stay anyways. I'm just kidding. Alright, let's just get right into this review. Alright, so let's start off with the positives in Spider Man 3 No Way Home. I'm just gonna go straight for the jugular, and I'm gonna start it off with the fact that they brought back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider Man. Oh my goodness. I was like kind of expecting it before going to the movies. You know, me and my friends were talking about like, oh, what do you think is gonna happen in the movie and everything. And I said, I really have the feeling that the 2 previous Spider-Man will be in the movie, you know? And my friends were like, maybe they're just gonna do a cameo, I don't know. But I was like, I'm pretty sure they'll be in there. And they were in there, and it worked. It was really good because, you know, the plot required it because of all the tampering with the multiverse and stuff. And I really feel the directors did a good job with integrating everyone into the same movie. They also brought back, obviously, the villains that came with Andrew Garfield's and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man movies. So in there we have Electro, Lizard, Sandman, the Green Goblin, and Otto Octavius. And something that I noticed, which is kind of funny and cute at the same time, is the fact that the actors, except Tobey Maguire, you know, all the other actors like Willem Dafoe, Jamie Foxx, Alfred Molina, who else? J.K. Simmons, Thomas Hayden Church, I think, and the guy playing Lizard, Rhys Ifans? I'm so sorry if I butchered that. Yeah, basically every other actor except Tobey Maguire, no offense. I feel like they haven't aged at all. They haven't changed one bit. But we really see that, you know, Tobey Maguire has aged, but that's totally fine because everybody ages differently. But all the other actors, I find personally that they kind of look like they aged down, you know? They look like they became younger. And I was like, wow, how long has it been? Like, it's been, what, about 14, 15 years since Sammy Raimi's movies, and it's been 7 or 8 years since The Amazing Spider Man with Andrew Garfield, and those actors look younger than ever, you know? Which is really cool. just a little thing that I noticed. Speaking of the actors, I feel like all of the actors really delivered well. Everyone had their moment to shine. Everyone had like their little spotlight, you know, their little moment to like be developed, I guess. Also, the dialogue between all the characters, from the villains and the three Spider-Men, they were really good. A lot of jokes were spot on, which was to be expected from an MCU movie. But two jokes in particular that stood out to me and my group was the joke about the youth pastor. I think it was when, towards the end, the third act, it was when Andrew Garfield was like saying to Tobey Maguire, he was dressed kind of like a dad, you know, with like a brown leather jacket with like a normal plain t-shirt. And then Andrew Garfield was like, so are you gonna do something, or are you just gonna stand there and look cool like a youth pastor or something? That was so funny because me and my friends, we were like probably the only ones who laughed at that, because we're all Christian, and you know, just like any Christian joke that is well placed in a movie, it's funny, you know, so it earned our laughter. And I think that moment stuck with us throughout the rest of the movie until the end, because we were still laughing at it until the end credits. So yeah, that was a really well placed joke, very appreciated, as well as the back cracking joke. Well, it wasn't really a joke, but it was really funny. It was when Andrew Garfield, again, was cracking Tobey Maguire's back, like right before the end battle. It's so hilarious because one of my friends, he actually does that to us when we need a good, you know, back crack, just to like place our vertebrates, you know, release some pain and stuff. He was doing exactly the same method, you know, like place yourself like this and I'm gonna go behind you and just like lift you up. That was so well placed. Oh, we love that. Another joke that we really liked was between Doctor Strange and Spider-Man about calling me sir, call me Steven. That was pretty cute also. And, you know, there's the famous meme between three Spider-Man just like pointing at each other, you know, the cartoon meme thing. You've probably seen it for sure. That was kind of going on too during the movie, but it wasn't as explicit as the cartoon meme, but it would have been really, really fun if they had included that, you know, just to like hit home, you know, just to like a wink to culture in general and stuff. Overall, the dialogue was, like I previously said, it was funny, it was well placed, it was just very enjoyable in general. When I was talking about the acting, I feel like the actors did a really good job also. Concerning the male actors, I think this movie carried a lot of emotional weight. Honestly, I wasn't even expecting this movie to be like so emotional, you know? The emotional scenes definitely hit hard for my friends. I'm gonna talk about how they did for me more in the negative points, but for men to show a lot of raw emotion like that, you know, like sadness, grief and all that, it was really well put, so good job to the actors. And I also feel like the ones who were underdeveloped during the past movies, they had their time to shine, like I've already said. So yeah, everyone did a really good job in their role. Another thing that really stood out to me and that made me really happy during the movie was when they brought back Sammy Raimi's Spider-Man theme during the third act. I think it was after Tobey Maguire changed Sandman back into a normal man. He was like, welcome back, what's his name in the movie? He was like, anyway, he was saying welcome back to Sandman, and then you just hear in the background like I was like, oh my gosh, that freaking song, it just hit me in the feels and I started getting like a little emotional, you know? But yeah, I really love that part. Such a great way to bring back nostalgia. Playing with the music always works, especially when it's placed at a really convenient and well-timed spot in the movie. That was a huge plus. And bringing it back to the actors again, I just realized in this movie that Ned was Filipino. How awesome is that? Oh my goodness, like a Filipino in an MCU movie. That's so huge. For all my Filipino viewers out there, if there's any of you who watches my videos, like, Ned is Filipino, you guys. He's not Chinese, which I thought he was for like the longest time. There was this scene when, you know, Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, comes into Ned's house. Ned's mom was actually like lecturing at some point. She was ranting about like, there's webs everywhere, clean this up. And as she was talking, there was no subtitles in the movie, but I understood what she was saying because she was speaking Tagalog. And I was like, bruh. I was like to my friends, I was like, bruh, you guys, it's Filipino. What? So yeah, that's just a huge plus for me. You know, I was really touched as a Filipino person that there were Filipino people in a huge Hollywood movie. Oh, so awesome. Bringing it back to the third act, there was the part when, you know, MJ falls from the ledge, or she gets pushed or something. Anyway, she falls off this ledge and she's about to die because Tom Holland didn't manage to save her because he got knocked down from one of the villains, and it was Andrew Garfield who saved her. Oh my goodness, like this movie is packed with so many lessons, which I'll touch upon a little bit later and more in depth, but one of those lessons was like everyone deserves a second chance, and it just brought me back to, you know, in Andrew Garfield's movies, the second one, when Gwen died. Oh gosh, that's so heart-wrenching, you guys. Anyway, brought me back to that moment, and the fact that it was him who saved MJ in this movie, I was like, dude, you got your second chance. You know, you must feel really good for having done that, because that's what you've been wanting to do during those last moments that Gwen was still alive. You saved MJ in this movie, and I was like, yo, that's deeply touching. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so props to that. It was such a good move from the director's part, because if, for example, it was Tobey Maguire who had saved MJ in this movie, it would have been kind of weird. I don't know, because MJ didn't die in Tobey Maguire's movies, so it would have been a weird move. But yeah, Andrew Garfield, you did a great job in this movie saving MJ. Speaking about moral dilemmas, I like that this movie has a lot of, you know, social questions or issues, personal stuff that people can deeply think about. So it's the moral dilemma between letting people go through with their fate no matter how tragic or devastating it is. So for the villains, their fate ultimately was to die in the hands of Spider Man, right? Or letting people have a second chance and doing what's right despite having to go against like an authority slash mentor figure, which basically Tom Holland had to do. He had to disobey Doctor Strange, who clearly told him not to tamper with things and like to let the villains die anyways, because that's their fate. Yeah, he had to choose between those two. And there's also the fact that, you know, people deserve a second chance at life and stuff. So yeah, I mean, overall, this movie has a lot of positive points to offer. I mean, of course, no movie is ever perfect, apart from The Lord of the Rings. Just kidding. But yeah, in the second part, I'm going to be touching upon the more negative points. So here are the points that I find less positive in Spider-Man 3 No Way Home. So I felt like during the beginning and kind of like the middle of the movie, it was kind of slow at first, you know? I felt like there was too much talking, but all the talking served as exposition. But then again, too much exposition is a little overbearing, you know? They were talking a lot about like, oh, how the villains got here, how I know Spider-Man, yada yada yada, but they could have shown it instead of telling it, you know? I mean, there's even parts in the movie where literally the villains were just sitting there doing nothing. But I mean, now that I think about it, I don't really know how they could have showed the exposition instead of said it explicitly, so I guess they went with whatever worked for the plot. But yeah, I felt like there was too much exposition at some point. So it felt as if there was too much like sitting around and talking instead of action. But yeah, like I said, I guess it worked in the end. And another very important thing that kind of bugged me was the fact that, yes, I do agree that Aunt May's death was very tragic and it was kind of unexpected, but expected at the same time. Her death scene to me, I don't know if it's just me or if anybody else felt this way, but I didn't feel any emotional impact on me personally when she died. I know that the people beside me were definitely tearing up and probably crying, but for me, I was just sitting there like, okay, it's just another character dying. You know, I didn't feel any like emotional connection to the character of Aunt May. I don't know, but if I were to compare to example Uncle Ben's death in Tobey Maguire's movie and Uncle Ben's death in Andrew Garfield's movie, I remember having felt a literal ball in my throat and I had tears in my eyes during those scenes and I felt really emotional. But for Aunt May's death, I don't know, I felt nothing. Like, it's not normal. And I don't know why. It's probably because I've never felt any sort of, like I said, connection to her character, because instead of having her as a, you know, much older parent guardian figure in Tom Holland's movies, there was always the stigma of her being like, oh, a hot Aunt May, you know? So I don't know, it's probably that, but yeah, I didn't feel emotional at all during her death scene, and I know that it's kind of wrong, but I don't know, I'm still trying to figure out why that is. But yeah, even in Andrew Garfield's movie when Gwen died, it was pretty sad. I felt it, you know? I felt the actor's emotions and all that, and although Tom Holland did a great job with, you know, the scene, I just felt really disconnected from it. I don't know why. Sorry. And speaking of emotions, like I mentioned in the positives aspect, the male characters showed a lot of emotion in this movie. So they, cried, they got angry, everything like that. But I felt like when it came to showing those same emotions, the female actresses or the female characters did not deliver as much. Sometimes I felt like MJ's emotions and expressions were the same. They almost felt static throughout the movie. Like, she always had the same expression and the same feelings and emotions. And for Aunt May, I was just like, I don't know, I felt like they could have shown more emotion at some points, but then again, it's probably just me. I will maybe have a different opinion if ever I watch the movie a second time, but during my first watch, I felt like all the male actors' characters were carrying that emotional weight upon them instead of having all characters carry the same emotional weight, Anyway, there's that. Also, during the final battle scene, it was getting kind of hard to know which Spider-Man was who. Even between them in the movie, they say explicitly wait, who is who? How are we doing this? Etc. And, there was some comedic parts to it, oh my gosh, you're part of the Avengers? What is that, a band? That was really cool. Yeah, but physically speaking, it was hard to distinguish Tobey Maguire from Andrew Garfield. I felt like the closer look you took at their costumes, you do see some slight differences, but the action is going super fast and stuff. The only recognizable one was Tom Holland, obviously, because he has some gold and stuff on his suit. But what I noticed for Tobey Maguire's costume was that, the gray metal things on his costume, they were bulging out almost, kind of like 3D. And for Andrew Garfield's, he had maybe black lines, I think. And it was more subtle. But yeah, that was the only key difference I was able to make out between the two. So yeah, during some action scenes, unless the characters were talking and calling each other out, like Peter 1, Peter 2, Peter 3, I think, or Spider-Man 1, 2, or 3. Anyway, unless they called out their names, we knew exactly who was who. So I think on a more visual note, that was a more negative point, but it worked in the end anyway. But yeah, I forgot to mention this in my positives part, that the visual effects for this movie were astounding, except for this little negative point. I feel like they could have cleaned up the CGI for Lizard a little more, especially in the beginning when we first see him appear. I felt like the CGI was a little off, it was kind of cartoony and sloppy almost. He definitely improved more towards the end. But if you have a really keen eye for, visual effects and stuff like that, you probably noticed also that during the beginning, Lizard was kind of off. He felt more like a costume or a drawing than an actual, character. But yeah, they did a good job with him in the end anyways. In this movie, I feel like they could have given more spotlight to Lizard and Sandman. Although they did Sandman justice, Lizard had very minimal parts. Like everyone else, he kind of just gets zapped at the end back to the universe, and there wasn't really much development, but it's fine because everybody else had their spotlight. And if I could think of another last negative point, I'd probably say that they could have maybe revealed the characters a little more daringly. I mean, for the villains, they did a really, really good job. But for the two other Spider-Man, they could have, I don't know, done something else to reveal them instead of just having them come out of a portal. If I were the director, I would have thought of probably something else. But like I said, in the end, everything worked out. So I think it's just me being nitpicky at this point. But yeah, those were my less positive points. But I mean, it's nothing too major that made the movie disturbingly boring or that disrupted too much of the action or the sequencing in general. The pacing was okay in the end. Everything worked, so all good, all fine. So my overall verdict for Spider-Man 3 No Way Home is that it was a really good and entertaining movie for regular consumers. I feel like even if they didn't see the two previous Tom Holland Spider-Man movies or the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield movies, I feel like walking into the theater and watching No Way Home, they would have still enjoyed it. But of course, it's an added bonus, a very big added bonus if they have watched all of those movies together. But even a non-Marvel fan would probably enjoy this movie, so props to that. The actors delivered really well, music was really good, the production was well executed and everything. At the end of the day, I feel like bringing back all of these characters was for fan service, but it was a fan service that had a purpose, and they hit home with the nostalgia, and I think that it worked out great. The audience, I feel, received it really well, and as far as fitting everything into the plot, it really all worked out. And like I said, it gives people moral dilemmas and, you know, personal questions to really think about as they leave the theater. I feel like people just don't walk out of there and forget about the movie, but they actually, like, you know, go through what happened and go through what they said and think about what they would do in Tom Holland's place and everything. And please stay until the end credits, until the very, very end, because you will see an end credit with Tom Hardy's Venom, which hopefully will appear in the 4th Spider-Man movie. And there's also the trailer for Doctor Strange 2, which looks freaking awesome. I really enjoyed the first movie, so I'm really looking forward to the second movie. So overall, I give this movie a thumbs up, and it gives me a lot of hope and expectations and a lot of things to look forward to for what these companies and universes will do in the upcoming movies. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe if you want to. And as usual, get out there and be random, because randomness is a lifestyle. So get on board with me and let's embrace it. I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye!